onto this conversation now. Theatre enthusiasts are in for a treat this month as Pink Tax play promises to test audiences' emotions and also expand their imagination. Written and directed by Noxolo Bhengu, Pink Tax showcases the challenges faced by ordinary people daily. It puts human trafficking in the spotlight and how such harrowing acts happen right under our noses. What's the inspiration behind this play? Well, for more on this, I'm joined by the show's playwright and director, Noxolo Bhengu. Good evening to you. Welcome to Newsnight. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for creating the space.
My absolute pleasure. So, a very important topic. In fact, we've seen marches take place in Cape Town against this issue. Talk to us about this play titled Pink Tax and what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. Pink Tax is essentially about the psychological effects of displacement, of being removed from where you know, what you're comfortable, the environment, your family, your community. And, you know, it's really centered around the issues of isolation and just despair. Yes.
So when I think of human trafficking, I often think that it is in a sexual connotation or sexual nature. So often it's not.
Yes.
Children can be involved. Just talk to us about the importance of telling these kind of stories and focusing and shining a spotlight on this issue that is rife within South Africa. And like the intro said, it happens right under our noses.
Absolutely. You know, South Africa has a population of over 60 million people, and it's marked by risk factors that render 52.5% of the population being extremely vulnerable to being trafficked. We don't speak about it often enough. And I am not in law enforcement. I am not an expert in counter-human trafficking field, but my advocacy happens on the stage in theatre, reflecting society and commenting on it and seeing how can I impact society through my creative power.
And although you're not in the police space, but you are advocating in your own way that you know how, just expanding and delving deeper into the topic, what do you think needs to change? Because like you mentioned, it's not a topic that we have conversations about too often, but we should, because we already know that South African women are so vulnerable, but we know that this issue does not only affect South African women, it affects men, women and children as well. From your perspective, what needs to change? What needs to be done for us to move forward and see progress?
More conversations. We need to collaborate more. It needs to be government sectors, NGOs, artists, private businesses, you know, tech industries, everybody, the general public. We also need to, as the people who are directly affected by this, decide how are we going to protect ourselves, you know, and not just depend on our governments to do that for us. And just also within theatre spaces, creative spaces, art is so powerful and effective. We need to continue creating these kind of plays that really humanize the experiences of victims and survivors.
And why would you say this topic is so close to your heart and you decided to make it the center of Pink Tax?
I live in a country where every day people are resharing posts. You know, there's always a child missing, a woman missing, and men as well. Labor trafficking is underreported, but it's incredibly rife. It's prevalent. So I really believe that we need to just constantly keep having these conversations and just figure out how can we help as the general public.
And I think sometimes people shy away from having these very difficult conversations. So I think talking about it in an artistic way makes it easier to maybe open up to those sort of conversations. Talk to me about putting this play together, writing it and finding the right characters and telling the right story. How did it start for you and how did that develop?
Sure. You know, the process is very heavy, I'll be very honest with you. And often the actors, we have to just take a moment to exhale a scene, to exhale the emotions, because the actors surrender their bodies to these stories, to the traumas. And for me, I had to create this story because I have nieces. I know people who have lost loved ones because of human trafficking. And yeah, we just need to keep having the conversation.
Definitely. So set the scene for us when we come to watch the play. What do you want us to experience? What do you want us to feel? What is the setting and where's the story told?
The story is called in a place, it's told in a place called eNCA, which means a thing. So the characters are removed from their homes, which is called Ntozonke. Ntozonke means everything. It's lush, it's green, it's a land of plenty. When you enter the theater, enter with an openness. Don't expect to feel or experience anything. Let the space lead your emotions. And, you know, because we know it's a very heavy topic, we have spoken to the Department of Social Development to have social workers who could be there if people are triggered. You know, we're not experts in this field. We're just vessels. So we have to be very responsible creators and leaders.
And in your press release, you talk about merging the realms of reality and imagination. Could you expand on that and what you mean by that?
Yes. So the play, in terms of the visuals, it's visually captivating. It's a very beautiful story to look at. And merging reality and imagination, it comes in the actors' displacement, not knowing where they truly are. Am I home? Is this really happening? Is this in front of me? Am I feeling this? Am I experiencing this? So that's how it all comes together.
And talk to us about the casting process, because as you've mentioned, it is a very heavy topic and it can take its toll on the actors because they need to be immersed in this world. When deciding on who you're going to cast in this play, what went into making that decision?
I looked at the audition tapes and how the actors engaged with the text. And our cast, majority of the cast, they've either been in a play that dealt with human trafficking, and some of them expressed that this topic, you know, is deeply embedded in their minds and in their personal experiences. So that was very important for me to factor in the audition process, because I needed people who the story mattered to them beyond just getting a gig.
Sure. Yes. And then besides that, besides them, the story having meaning to them and them being able to display that on stage, if perhaps someone is watching at home who has aspirations of being on a theatre stage, but they don't really know where to start or what the audition process would be like, what sort of advice do you have for someone who would like to start and who's maybe a bit nervous about having their first audition? Because it is a very nerve-wracking space. Yeah. It can be quite daunting. What sort of advice do you have for someone watching tonight?
Yeah, I would advise that they should question their why. Why do you want to do this? Is it for fame, or are you really passionate about it? And just, you know, watching people who we admire and who are incredibly talented, watch how they do what they do, find your inspiration, you know, enroll in courses, go and, you know, to university or a technicon and really understand the craft. Yes.
So I'm speaking about theatre tonight. I'm going to be talking about poetry later, but I wanted to expand on the arts in South Africa and how it's doing. What are some of the challenges that you as a black female in South African's art space has experienced, and what are some of the challenges that you think the arts space needs assistance with?
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges is our art being able to sustain us, you know, being able to treat our art as 9 to 5. There's a lot of passion that goes into it. We give more than we get out of it, and we understand that. We continue to do it because we really love it. So the biggest challenge is really sustaining yourself by doing the arts. Pink Tax was originally staged in Shanghai.
Yes, I was going to ask.
And navigating that journey was, you know, far easier. And I kept questioning myself as to why, you know, because I've always wanted to be a creator at home and do what I've been doing abroad, you know, doing it at home. But it's been incredibly challenging to do that. So just, you know, sustaining yourself as an artist. More spaces are opening up for us to do our work. Pink Tax is under the Kippies program at the Market Theatre. This is an opportunity that's been afforded to me. So yeah, just being able to sustain yourself financially.
And I think that is a concern for a lot of parents. They often see the arts as a hobby, something you should do on the side as a backup to your main title or your main job. Would you encourage parents to allow their children to move into the arts?
Absolutely. I do not come from wealth, you know, but my mother always supported my dream. Even it was very hard for her to support it because she's like, you can be a lawyer or a doctor, you know, you have the capacity. I'm like, well, my calling is, I've always known my calling. So I just wanted to honor that, you know, and share that gift with the world. So parents should definitely allow their children to explore their passions. And you can do different things. There's drama therapy, theatre and education, industrial theatre, so you can really commercialize your art. You know, just need to know how, you know, and learn how.
And what your strengths are. And I think this is why this is such an important conversation. But when is this happening? Where is this happening? How do we attend? How do we come watch? How do we support?
Yes, it's happening from the 18th of October to the 23rd of October at the Market Theatre. Tickets are 100 Rand, very affordable. Please come through, support us, and yeah, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful week of theatre.
Amazing. Well, we're super excited. Noxolo, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your story, and we can't wait to experience your work.
Thank you very much, Abigail.
My absolute pleasure. Well, that was the Pink Tax playwright and director, Noxolo Bhengu, talking to us about her play titled Pink Tax that will be showcasing at the Market Theatre on the 18th of October. It talks to the dark underbelly of human trafficking in South Africa, an issue that's been ongoing in our country.